I made a little video, asking what is your Mount Rushmore of action stars, and it could be from different eras. The 60s, the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And for every person you put in, give me a reason as to why, like a sentence or two, as to why they're in your Mount Rushmore. And there's no wrong answers here. I'm just sort of going through the feedback a little bit. And I did get a couple of responses from Twitter, which I'll read. I'm going to do YouTube first because I have way more comments up here. And then I'll read the feedback I got from Twitter. So, again, your Mount Rushmore of action stars. We're going to start off with Junebug Films up here, Ty. Great guy. To start off, he says, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Wayne, Sean Connery. And he wrote, I picked John and Sean because in a lot of ways, those were the precursor to Arnold and Stallone and all the others that are mentioned, that everybody else has mentioned on this list and in the comments. And while the other ones that people mention are good action stars, this is the Mount Rushmore. So I have to think about this as a fan, but also logically on who would they put on a Mount Rushmore of action stars. I wanted to give an honorable mention to Toshiro Mifune, and I hope I pronounced that right. Without him, we would not have Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and all the other great action or Asian action stars. He starred in a lot of samurai movies, and probably his most famous is Seven Samurai. So there you have it. And interesting Mount Rushmore. I mean, I definitely would put Stallone up there because to me, he's larger than life. But I mean, I just look at his accomplishments and what he's been able to do in the 40 plus years of his career, his run. I mean, just look at the comebacks he's had, and again, a lot of great larger-than-life characters. All you have to do is mention Rocky and Rambo. But, I mean, a lot of great movies, too, like Cobra and Tango and Cash and Over the Top and Demolition Man, Cliffhanger. Stallone would definitely be up there. Schwarzenegger, definitely I would put him up there because it's Arnold. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, yeah, it seems like with Arnold, every interview, and this is something I have to mention too, because it seems like in every interview, Arnold is always asked about T2 or Predator, which I love both, but he's done other movies. And to me, his career should not just be defined by those two movies. Again, I love Last Action Hero, The Running Man, Kindergarten Cop, Twins is fun. True Lies. And that's another one that kind of gets thrown in there a little bit that a lot of people talk about. So you could say a lot of people, they'll ask him about True Lies, T2, or Predator. Again, I love all of them, but it's that thing of, it seems like his other films kind of get the short end of the stick. And to me, I don't know why, but I love Last Action Hero, The Running Man, Red Heat is underrated. Eraser's fun. But even still, I would definitely put Schwarzenegger in that Mount Rushmore. John Wayne, I didn't grow up a lot of, I knew who John Wayne was, as, earlier in my life, but I didn't really grow up with John Wayne. I respect John Wayne, but I don't know if I would put him on mine for me. But I give John Wayne respect. I mean, again, it's just one of those things. I didn't really grow up on John Wayne, so I mean, it'd be hard for me to say or put Wayne in that Mount Rushmore. Sean Connery is an interesting choice. I mean, rest in peace, Sean Connery is a great actor, and he definitely, I mean, James Bond, he was Andy's father, but other great movies, The Untouchables, The Hunt for Red October. I mean, I can go on and on about Sean Connery, but yeah, Sean Connery is a really interesting choice, and it's again really interesting Mount Rushmore. And like I said before, there's no wrong answers here. I'm just sort of going through the feedback and sort of reading what you guys have to say because I like seeing some of the different responses. So again, for Junebug films, that's Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Wayne, Sean Connery. And kind of what I see there, it's, giving respects to the more larger-than-life action stars of the 80s, and this is kind of from what I gather, also to, give them some respect to the people that sort of paved that road, if you will. With Sean Connery, you could talk about the James Bond films and so forth, and, John Wayne, the Westerns he did. And so, again, really interesting Mount Rushmore. Mr. Pete channel needs 900 subbies. Yeah, that's his name. So he mentioned 4 people here, and he didn't give a reason, but that's fine. And I did mention that in the video because I know, some people would just look at the title and just automatically comment. And that's fine. I mean, it is what it is, but it's just one of those things that's why I say, watch the video first. And, I mentioned if you would like to give a reason or two, but that's fine. I mean, I'll just read off right here. So his 4 he would put in his Mount Rushmore. You have Arnold, Sly, Bruce Lee, Samuel Jackson, with Mila Jovovich as a Statue of Liberty. And that's funny, but... So again, Arnold, Sly, Bruce Lee, Samuel Jackson, and Mila Jovovich as a Statue of Liberty. And once again, you see, we have Arnold and Stallone on the Mount Rushmore. Bruce Lee definitely is a great choice, and, logical choice. I mean, what more can I say about Bruce Lee? He definitely could, belongs in that Mount Rushmore. Samuel Jackson, I don't know if he would be in mine, but it's an interesting choice. And I mean, he's done action movies, but I guess when I compare Samuel Jackson to, Arnold and Stallone and even other guys out there like a Bruce Willis, which, if they'd done movies together. Yeah, Samuel Jackson is kind of like the last person I would put up there. And again, there's no wrong answers here, so I don't want to poo-poo on your comment or your opinion. I'm not doing that here. But again, it's just an interesting choice because I like Samuel Jackson a lot. But I just don't know if I would put him on my Mount Rushmore, or if he would be, an honorable mention. He's a great actor, and, like I said, he's done a lot of great movies. But, maybe there's other action stars out there that I would put or think about before Samuel Jackson. Mila Jovovich as a Statue of Liberty, that's a funny thought. But hey, that's cool. I mean, but, thank you, Mr. Pete, for the feedback. Next up, we have Stone Crazy Clips 222. His would be Dolph Lundgren, Stallone, Tom Cruise, and Ice-T. And he says, let me stop doing that. Dolph Lundgren for Punisher, I Come in Peace, Expendables, and Rocky. Stallone for Rambo, Expendables, Cliffhanger, Rocky. Tom Cruise for Mission Impossible, Edge of Tomorrow, Top Gun. And Ice-T for Surviving the Game, New Jack City, and his voice role in the video game Borderlands 3. And just sort of looking at that Mount Rushmore, Dolph Lundgren is interesting because I'm a big fan of Dolph Lundgren. A great action star. Would I put him in my Mount Rushmore? I think he's an honorable mention. Definitely he's a great choice. And you could say that he could belong in there, but, maybe it's like if I already have Stallone and Arnold, Do I put Dolph in there? Like, would Dolph be the last, part of the last two? Um, but again, Dolph is a great choice. And I need a little drink here. But yeah, Dolph is a really interesting choice because he's a great action star. Definitely underrated, and so yeah, I mean it's a great choice there. I don't know why I keep hitting that. But in that, I mean, those reasons alone. I mean, the movies like The Punisher, I Come in Peace, Expendables, Rocky, uh, Showdown Little Tokyo, Masters of the Universe, Men of War is great. So Dolph is a really good choice. But again, I'm kind of thinking about. I think he would definitely be an honorable mention because for me, because he's a great action star. But is he Mount? Is he? Would I put him on that Mount Rushmore? With a Stallone and Arnold. But again, there's no. Again, I keep saying this, but there's no wrong answers here. Um, Sly, definitely. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. I don't know. I mean, for me, I like Tom Cruise. Would he be on the Mount Rushmore for me? Um, I don't know, but I mean, again, it's an interesting choice because Tom Cruise. When you look back over the past, several years now, he's been, he's done a lot of action movies. From the Mission Impossible franchise, Edge of Tomorrow, and yeah, he's got the Top Gun sequel coming out. So, but again, interesting choice. Uh, I have a feeling though that if you put Tom Cruise's face on Mount Rushmore, his ego is going to be like, oh, my smile needs to be worked on. Chisel it out a little bit better. Why do I have a feeling? I mean, can you imagine Tom Cruise's face on Mount Rushmore and that big ass grin that he has? But yeah, but again, interesting choice. Ice-T. I don't know if I would put Ice-T. Like to me, someone when I was talking about Samuel Jackson, like to me, he makes a little bit more sense than Ice-T. But still, I mean, interesting choice. I like Ice-T a lot. But thank you for the question. Well, not questions, but thank you for the feedback. Stoner Crazy Clips. Now we're going to talk about Ben Rushing. And he has... Okay, so let's see what Ben Rushing has to say. It says right here, one person he would put to start off, Stallone. If Stallone had only made Rocky and Rambo, he would still be on the list. Not only is he my favorite action hero, and he's a great actor, and he brings intensity and heart to those characters and gives you someone to really root for like no other. For me, he will always be number one. Those two characters are larger than life and can never be topped. Then you have all the other badass roles from Cobra to Demolition Man to Over the Top, Cliffhanger, Lock Up, Tango and Cash. The list goes on. The second person he would put in, Charles Bronson, simply for the death wish, for being a complete badass vigilante. The third person he would put in, Mel Gibson. For me, he has brought, like Stallone, great acting as well as intense performances, starting out with Mad Max films, and of course, Lethal Weapon franchise. The first will always be my favorite performance of his, up to movies like Bloodfather. I enjoy his humor in movies along with his intensity in acting. I can go on, but these are brief reasons. And the fourth person he would put in is Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's simply the best, in my opinion, in the 80s and 90s as far as martial arts goes. Bloodsport is one of the best action martial arts movies of all time, in my opinion. Loved him in Kickboxer, Universal Soldier, and Cyborg was badass. Let's see here. Others could be added for personal best films, but this would be mine. I could have picked Arnold, but I enjoy Mel Gibson more, and that's cool. But again, really interesting Mount Rushmore here. Again, Stallone. I keep going back to Stallone. Definitely would be in mine, and it's a great choice. Charles Bronson. Can you imagine a big bust of Charles Bronson on Mount Rushmore? I don't know. It's a very fun, thought to me. But again, another great choice. And it's weird because, when I talk about Charles Bronson, I really haven't seen a whole lot of the stuff. Recently I picked up the Death Wish DVD pack that has Death Wish 2 through 4. So you have most of the Death Wish movies, but, well, 10 to Midnight's a great movie, so I have seen that. I take that back. Yeah, 10 to Midnight's great, but other than that, I really haven't seen a whole lot of Bronson stuff. But yeah, Charles Bronson, I could totally understand that. Mel Gibson, and that's another great choice. And I was kind of waiting for somebody to say Mel Gibson. I knew somebody was going to say Mel Gibson at some point here. But when you think of Mel Gibson and his run in the 80s, even before that, Mad Max and Lethal Weapon, and then going into the 90s, he had a string of good movies. Air America is good. What's that one movie? Ransom's great. Conspiracy Theory, Maverick, and I'm just sort of, spitting out different movies he did in the 90s. But like Mel Gibson, he's one of those guys, even, no matter what people say about him, and he did apologize for all that stuff, and that's a whole nother topic. But he's a guy that, okay, he could belong in that Mount Rushmore. Especially when you talk about 80s action heroes, because, as much as people want to forget Mel Gibson, and people are still mad about what happened before, Mel Gibson's still a great actor, and he has proven himself, and nowadays he's still acting, but he's still had a couple of recent films like Fat Man, which I like to see. I've heard some decent things about, and he can still direct. Hacksaw Ridge, great movie. So, yeah, Mel Gibson's a really good choice. Van Damme, that's a guy that definitely would be highly considered for my Mount Rushmore because, and I talked about Dolph earlier, like someone mentioned Dolph Lundgren. Like, Dolph Lundgren's a great choice, but if I had to choose between Van Damme and Dolph to go on that Mount Rushmore, like if I had to start eliminating people in my mind, like to me, I love Van Damme. Like to me, I love Van Damme more, from Bloodsport to Kickboxer, Cyborg, Death Warrant, what have you, Double Impact. And like he to me would be on that Mount Rushmore if I had to make a 4. So it would be Stallone, Arnold, Van Damme, and maybe I'll reveal the other person here by the end. But great choices. Ben Russian. Now we're moving on to DJ Donnelly, and I need a little bit more drink. Okay. Now we're going to talk about DJ Donnelly's comments. He says, that's easy. Arnold, Stallone, Bruce Lee, Van Damme. And I don't know if he did give reasons. Stallone because he's an underdog who never gave up, and now look at him. He's a millionaire, definitely inspirational, and someone to look up to. Arnold, because he was the one that got me into action films as a kid. Van Damme, because he's a cool guy, and yes, he made some mistakes by taking drugs, but, soon redeemed himself. Plus, he's a great martial artist, too. And Bruce Lee, because he's a legend. And, yeah, that's all. But Bruce Lee, what more can you say about Bruce Lee? But, again, great Mount Rushmore. You still have Arnold and Stallone and, with Van Damme in there and Bruce Lee. That's a badass Mount Rushmore. So, but again, all those, I mean, Stallone's definitely an underdog. I mean, you look at his accomplishments, Arnold, and that's one thing that I've noticed. I mean, when people talk about Arnold and Stallone, that Arnold, it seems like a lot of people say that about Arnold, that he's the one that got me into action films, and Stallone, was again kind of the underdog, and he had to. It seems for him he had to overcome more, and he's having to prove himself, throughout his career, and he has proven himself, and you see the different comebacks he's had. So, but in Van Damme, great martial artist and great actor, and Bruce Lee. I mean, again, what more can you say about Bruce Lee? But thank you, DJ Donnelly, for the comments. Now we're on to Chaz4543. And, okay, this is Chaz's Mount Rushmore. Michael Dudikoff, Olivia Gruner, Jeff Speakman, Mark Dacascos. And he says, Mark Dacascos because Drive is the best 90s direct-to-video action film. Michael Dudikoff because American Ninja is one of the best direct-to-video franchises. Olivia Gruner because I grew up with movies like Automatic and Savant, which I never heard of Savant, so I may have to check that one out. Jeff Speakman because The Perfect Weapon is the best 90s action movie released in theaters from a B-movie star. Again, really interesting Mount Rushmore. And it's funny because Michael Dudikoff is a guy that I've always heard about here, like up here on YouTube, but I still haven't seen a lot of his movies. I do have American Ninja. I do know that. But yeah, I definitely have to check out more of Michael Dudikoff. Olivia Gruner, Automatic, I remember watching like a few years back, and I remember liking that. But that's the only Olivia Gruner film that I've seen. Jeff Speakman, great choice there. I love Jeff Speakman. I mean, especially The Perfect Weapon, Street Night, what was it, Deadly Outbreak. And there's some ones that he did after that, which I haven't seen yet. But Jeff Speakman definitely, when you talk about underrated action stars, you could definitely, it's a great choice. And again, I would definitely consider, Jeff Speakman. Mark Dacascos, and like I haven't seen Drive, and that's another film that I definitely have to check out. And there's other films he's done. I mean, like Only the Strong. Films I've heard about, but I haven't seen a whole lot of Mark Dacascos films. So, yeah, so I have to add that to my to-watch list. But again, really cool Mount Rushmore because, and I like how everyone has different answers here because it's not, yeah, I mean, I keep bringing up Stallone and Arnold, but everyone has different takes. Everyone has different, responses. And, like for Chaz, I mean, Michael Dudikoff, Olivia Gruner, Jeff Speakman, Mark Dacascos, guys that, okay, like I said, Speakman, I've seen more of his stuff compared to the other guys, but these are guys, I mean, you mentioned, like, these are guys that are underrated. And so, like, if it was a Mount Rushmore of underrated action stars, definitely, so like I said, but again, there's no wrong answer here. Again, really interesting Mount Rushmore, but thank you for the comments, Chaz. Grand Theft Ruben. Now, I know he sent all this right here. I just asked for Mount Rushmore of action stars, but that's still pretty cool. I mean, that's fine. He says, and I think the four he chose, for action, he put Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Yuen Biao, I'm probably botching that, Yuen Biao, and Sammo Hung. And this is what he says. Bruce Lee because the way of martial arts, Jeet Kune Do, and rise to fame and popularity in Asia. Jackie Chan because he didn't want to be the next Bruce Lee. He wants to be the next Jackie Chan, which is an actual quote from Jackie. Yuen Biao because of his amazing acrobatic moves since you studied the Peking Opera School along with Jackie and Sammo. And Sammo Hung because he's one of the most underrated action stars. Despite his fame in Asia, in the West, he didn't get the chance because of Hollywood's mistreatment towards the Asian culture, which CBS canceled the TV show Martial Law because of budget problems and Sammo's dislike of the script, because Sammo felt that CBS treated him more like a fighting machine than a teacher. And again, really interesting Mount Rushmore. Bruce Lee, definitely logical and understandable. I mean, a lot of people would put Bruce Lee in that Mount Rushmore. And I mean, without question, all people has to say is Bruce Lee, and it's a very logical, choice. Jackie Chan, that's another great one. I mean, and I'm kind of surprised, more people didn't mention Jackie Chan, but again, Jackie Chan's another great choice, especially when you look at his career. Sammo Hung, or I skipped one. Yeah, Yin Bio, I've never heard of. Maybe you can let me know more about him. I never heard of him, but Sammo Hung is really interesting because I like Sammo Hung. I've seen him. I've heard of the TV show Martial Law, but I've never seen an episode. I've seen Sammo Hung in some other early Jackie Chan movies. But again, really interesting choice. That your Mount Rushmore is a tribute to, Asian actors and action stars. So again, really cool Mount Rushmore. And I think that's it for the YouTube section, the feedback I got on YouTube. And now we're going to read a couple of responses that I got on Twitter. And let's see here. Get to the tweets. And I did post this on Twitter. If you want to follow me up there, for those who are interested, you can follow me at TheZeroCool. So we got one response from at Jay the Stingray. And he didn't give a reason but for each person. But he put Charles Bronson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chuck Norris, and Jean-Claude Van Damme. And that's a great Mount Rushmore. I mean, again, Charles Bronson, I've mentioned him before, makes sense. Arnold Schwarzenegger, makes sense. Chuck Norris, and this is kind of where I would put Chuck Norris in my Mount Rushmore, and Van Damme. So, again, mine, and I know I probably said maybe I was going to wait towards the end to talk about mine, but I definitely, for my I can't talk. For my Mount Rushmore, definitely would be Arnold, Stallone, Chuck Norris, Van Damme. But, so he nailed 3 out of the 4 that I would put in mine. But, yeah, again, Charles Bronson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Again, really cool Mount Rushmore. And that is from at Jay the Stingray. And I think I got one more. Man, this last one's funny. At Seabear121, he just put just 4 busts of JCVD from 4 of his different movies and eras. Can you imagine 4 busts of Jean-Claude Van Damme? With 2, well, first of all, if you had a Mount Rushmore of different Jean-Claude Van Damme heads, 2 of them would be the twins from Double Impact. And one would be his character from Cyborg, and then the other would be Bloodsport. So there you go. The twins from Double Impact would take up 2 of the Mount Rushmore heads. So that's funny. But yeah, I think that's all the comments, the responses I got back from Twitter. So yeah, that is it on that one. But overall, this has been a good discussion. I got a few good responses, and it was interesting to look at the different responses. And like I said before, there's no wrong answer here. Everyone had really interesting choices and logical, choices, and, action stars that were mentioned that, because if you ask the ordinary person, Yeah, I think the ordinary, regular Joe would put like Schwarzenegger, John Wayne, what have you. But it was cool to see, different answers and, action stars that don't get a lot of spotlight that are mentioned here that would be in their Mount Rushmore. But that's it for now. I just want to thank everybody for the responses and yeah. So this is a really fun. It was really fun to look at. Really interesting to look at the different answers. And again, I just want to thank you guys for watching and stay tuned for more.